Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got another gun gripe episode for you, and we're going to be diving into the weeds on this brace proposal. Now, luckily, there's already been quite a few videos that have been made by various other content creators, so some of you should already be in the loop as to what's going on. Chad and I have been traveling a little bit, so I wasn't able to get a video out right when this thing first broke. So there's lots of other videos out there, definitely to give folks good credit. Military Arms Channel, Mr. Guns and Gear, Guns and Gadgets, Gun Collective, Johnny. I mean, all these guys have put out some great content, and we've gotten a lot of comments on this particular proposal, some 50,000 comments already, which is great. We want to get those comments even higher, and I know you guys are going to help us do that. I would like to take a moment to thank our friends at USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. You guys have probably heard of them or heard that term thrown around a little bit. They are a great group of people. They provide self-defense legal protection. So if you're involved in a legal shooting, they definitely go out of their way to provide the legal resources to make sure that you're taken care of and that you can come out, hopefully on top. They do have lots of firearms education, different training resources, tons of videos, guides, books, and articles. So don't think of it like a gun insurance type of thing. The best way to think about it is along the lines of a total training regimen and a advocacy regimen that helps make sure that you're not put in a situation where you're going to be involved in a bad shooting or you're going to make a bad decision. So they help, give you the resources to make sure that you understand the laws in your area, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what's a good shoot, what's a bad shoot. So really, really great opportunity for that. It's more than a firearms insurance. It provides you with a good amount of knowledge across a broad spectrum of different things to make sure that you are a well-informed and trained gun owner as well, so that if you are involved in a shooting, that it is something that you're going to come out on top legally and make sure that you're not going to get in a bunch of trouble, okay? They do have 3 tiers. They have a gold, platinum, and elite, and each of those different tiers provides some different coverage amounts in terms of liability coverage, personal injury coverage, and stuff like that. So check it out. Use the code IV8888. Check out the link below. Go over to USCCA and tell them that we sent you. So we're going to dive into the weeds on this, as we said, and there's some pretty arbitrary things going on, and certainly draconian policies that are potentially on the horizon. We do remember that back in around November, we had the first time that they had a proposed rule change in regards to braces, right? This was when the acting director was Legina Lombardo, and I published a comment over on TTAG, and of course, that particular item in the registry got a ton of comments, and it was a success, right? They dropped the issue. It's kind of weird though to look at that first brace proposal though back in November, because it just vanished. They had all of these comments in the registry, over 100,000 comments in the registry in regards to that first brace fiasco. And then what did they decide to do? They didn't even offer a comment. They didn't even offer an explanation. They just simply removed it from the registry. So now, fast forward to, here it is, June, and now we have this document that they've come up with, a worksheet, if you will, a 2-page worksheet. And now what they've done is they have opened the comment period back up again. This is not the same comment period from before. So to be clear, guys, if you left a comment back in November of last year, that comment is gone. This is a completely separate thing, okay? So you must go leave a comment again, guys, all right? This is very, very important. We're going to go over this worksheet a bit. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because this is a public document. You can access it. You can go read it. We'll put a link to it in the description box below so you guys can go and check it out and read up on it. But essentially what this worksheet sort of proves to do is it set up a point system by which if your naughty AR pistol or AK pistol or PCC or 9mm PCC or whatever it might be, your pistol that has some form of a brace or an optic or backup sights or an angled forward grip, if you will, or whatever, they have now assigned a very, very unclear and arbitrary point system to determine if it constitutes an SBR or not. So that's kind of where we're at.
So when looking
Dang.
when looking through this worksheet and reading through the actual proposed rule, they go through each section in pretty good detail as to what their reasoning is behind it. And I understand where the ATF is coming from. I don't agree with where the ATF is coming from. And it's somewhat arbitrary because, all right, no matter whether your pistol scores less than 4 on this, note. Get my reading glasses on. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives reserves the right to preclude classification as a pistol with a stabilizing brace for any firearm that achieves a parent qualifying score, but is an attempt to make a short-barreled rifle and circumvent the GCA or NFA. So this worksheet
is irrelevant.
The ATF can say, oh, you know what? Your AR pistol with a pistol buffer tube on it that's round that cannot accept any stabilizing brace except the original SB design. Even though it meets these qualifications and it scored less than 4 points, which is damn near impossible to do with anything out there on the market right now with these rules. They can just say, oh, you know what? We think that is an illegal SBR and you're breaking the law. You are now a criminal.
Well, and the thing is they know it. So they have carefully, so back in November when this whole thing was an utter fiasco, you guys left great comments, right? Thought-provoking comments. So during that comment period, trust me, they read through the comments and they're thinking, okay, well, it's unclear what constitutes this or that. So what they aim to do, I'm not going to say to their credit because I strongly disagree, but at least you do have to give them a itty-bitty little sliver of credit for at least now saying, okay, here's where we're at. Here's the worksheet. So at least they lay it out in black and white and tell you, hey, here is what the criteria we're using. I disagree with the criteria. I disagree with this document. I disagree with braces being subject to NFA scrutiny. All right, I do disagree with it. The thing about this, though, is they have carefully and through much time and effort constructed this document purposely knowing that they are arbitrarily banning those items by virtue of this point system. So, all right, if this is a test, right? Let's just pretend we're taking tests in school, all right? And there's wrong answers and there's right answers, and, you get graded at the end, right? So what if the teacher, okay, made the test so difficult that they knew that no one, no matter how smart they might be, took the test, would never in a million years pass the test. This is a test that's so arbitrary, this point system is so arbitrary and so unfair, it's purposely constructed to make everything they don't like an SBR, okay? And to make some items, this could even potentially get into some hunting pistols, right? You're talking, I think there's some of those long-range hunting pistols that have, say you have a bipod on a hunting pistol, all right? Is that a foregrip? No, it's not. But according to this ruling, you could potentially be in, some type of negative NFA territory by simply having a Ruger Charger with no other naughty feature other than a bipod, right? Because you have an optic on it, because it's a certain weight and a certain length of pull. So there's all these arbitrary rules that they have purposely and carefully constructed to make millions of people criminals overnight. And they've made it so purposely arbitrary and difficult to navigate that it does leave so much open area and gray area in the enforcement end of it that they even tell you right here, well, even if your gun didn't score more than 4 points and technically wouldn't be considered an SBR under the guise of this document, we can still say, well, it is. So it's so arbitrary that not only is the enforcement of it extremely difficult, if not impossible, it's extremely unconstitutional and dangerous, for one, because you're turning millions of people. The gun laws in this country are already difficult enough to navigate for the average person as it stands already, much less getting into NFA territory, right? There's a lot of people that if you start telling them, well, all right, there's this thing called the NFA, and they go, what? Like your average gun owner, they just want to go to a gun shop and someone shows them something cool, they buy it, and that's it. Like they don't think about, oh, well, a year down the road, this could be illegal or this could require some additional scrutiny or NFA paperwork. So it's very unfair that they would say, well, 12 years ago, this was completely okay, right? When braces were initially approved under the Obama administration's ATF, when braces were approved, it wasn't a problem back then. So why, after all these years, it's all of a sudden a problem now, right? And they want to pretend like this is a problem now, and they can't even dial in the specific crime statistics that would even back up the need for something like this. I'm sorry, Chad. I have to get this off my chest.
We went into this in the previous video.
I have to get this off my chest.
Yes, go ahead.
Here's the thing, okay? So these braces were approved under Obama's ATF, right? So when you look at the crime data, when you look at FBI crime data statistics, they break down everything based on like the weapon used and everything like that, and they have different categories, right? They'll have like rifle, pistol, blunt objects. There's all these different things that kill Americans every single year, right? And especially in crime, all these statistics are gathered so that you can kind of get an idea of what's occurring, right? There is no distinction in the crime data between a rifle and a pistol and a braced pistol. So it's not like a braced pistol has its own specific category. All right, we already know that handguns are used in a larger majority of gun crimes than rifles are. But here's the issue. Rifles are used in so few crimes, right? There are very, very, very few crimes. When you look at the total amount of people in the United States and the total amount of gun owners and the total amount of crimes committed with firearms, rifles make up an extremely small, tiny, little, minuscule part of that data. And then when you break that data down and look at it, a lot of that is accidents and suicides, and then they also factor police shootings into that data, right? So if a cop used a patrol rifle to put somebody down, then that gets added into the data, right, for deaths involving a rifle, right? So once you start looking at that, rifles are used in such a small amount of crime. So here's the issue. The ATF wants to spend all this money, all this tax money, and they want to make all these people potentially criminals overnight under the simple guise that a pistol with a brace on it is a rifle, right? That's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that a pistol that has a brace is not a pistol, it's a rifle. But if rifles are used in such a small amount of crime, why are you concerned about it? If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck and is a duck, and the duck ain't the one that's causing the problem, then why are you going after it? That's why I can't understand. So if you think it's a rifle and you know rifles are used in such a small amount of crime, no matter what it technically is or what you even think it is or what you want it to be, it's not going to change what it is. It doesn't matter, right? Rifles aren't used in crime. Therefore, AR pistols aren't used in a lot of crime. Now, it's not to say that they're not being encountered, but the amount of people that are using them for bad purposes in no way, shape, or form will ever in a million years outweigh the good people that use them to protect their homes, use them as truck guns when they're out on the road, they're out vacationing, they're out backpacking, and they want a little small Ruger 1022 with a folding brace that they can stick in their backpack, as a survival tool. I mean, there are so many law-abiding people that use these items on a common and regular basis at such a great level that they are focusing on this tiny, itty-bitty little sliver of people. And they are pandering to an extremely vocal minority that is so small and minuscule that it's almost like inconclusive. It's not even scientifically conclusive, right? If you had such a large data pool that involved all this data and all these people, right? If scientists ran this thing and a scientist came up with this, they would be like, well, why are we going through all this minutia of this crazy business here for such a statistically small, issue that affects such a tiny, itty-bitty little small group of people, and in a very small, specific way that the data can't even pin down as being their data doesn't even reflect the item that they're wanting to ban. It would be one thing if the FBI said, hey, all right, Obama's DOJ and ATF they made the determination on these braces and now they're lawful. So if it was a problem and they thought it was going to be a problem, then why didn't they start collecting specific data on that particular item as its own characteristic, as its own category back when they started legalizing them? They don't even collect data. The data doesn't even reflect this item specifically. So that tells you right now that there's not a distinction between a pistol and a pistol with a brace to them legally, because they obviously didn't bother to separate the data to determine what they're really dealing with. Mm-hmm. 2, they didn't care because they knew that maybe they were setting this up to move on in one day anyway. Or 3, they're so incompetent that they just figured, we don't even know. Let's just roll it downhill, kick the can down the hill, and let someone else worry about it. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
I just feel like it's an important distinction to make. They don't even collect data that is specific to this item in question, right? If you were so worried about it, why wouldn't you collect the data so you could at least make an informed decision about, okay, this is or isn't used in crime? Look at the crime bill. All right, when the crime bill sunsetted, they determined, they had crime data in place for that 10 years, and they determined that the ban did absolutely nothing to curb crime in any way, shape, or form, and that the data was so inconclusive, it was almost a failed experiment in of itself, right? And that's what this is. Mm-hmm. Not only is the data not conclusive, the data isn't conclusive because the data isn't there. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to say. Go ahead. I just had to get that off my chest.
Why?
Go leave a comment. Go leave a comment.
Bye, guys. That's the video.
No, it's not the video. He's got something about manufacturers.
So, look, all right, I want to cover this real quick because this is just the ATF again, All right, so get this. Even if, let me make it bigger because my old eyes.
This comes directly from the Federal Register, by the way.
This is in the document in the register that you can view right now. Even if a weapon accrues less than 4 points in each section, attempts by a manufacturer or maker to circumvent federal law by attaching purported stabilizing braces in lieu of shoulder stocks may result in classification of those weapons as rifles and short-barreled rifles. While some manufacturers have recognized there is a market advantage in designing and selling short-barreled rifles as pistols to customers seeking to avoid tax and registration requirements with the NFA, stabilizing braces are not a method by which the federal statutes may be circumvented. Therefore, efforts to advertise, sell, or otherwise distribute short-barreled rifles as such will result in a classification as a rifle regardless of the points accrued on the ATF worksheet, because there is no longer any question that the intent is for the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. So, basically, in more words or less, the ATF seeks to completely cease the manufacturer or the manufacturer of these short-barreled pistols, okay?
They don't
with
like them.
Stabilizing braces by any manufacturer out there, and basically saying, okay, well, since we said this, and this is how we're interpreting our own rule, okay? You can't sell these anymore. You can't even make these and put these out there for sale because you're not selling a pistol. You're selling a short-barreled rifle because we say so, not because of the design features that make it a pistol based on the laws,
federal law,
that are on the book, in the GCA, in the NFA. The manufacturers out there have been following these rules and these guidelines for years and years and years. And until those laws are legislated by the Congress and changed on the books in the U.S. Code, all this is worth about as much as a piece of toilet paper you just wiped your butt with.
Well,
all right?
And here's the thing. It's like, whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter. The points don't matter. This is a slap in the face because it doesn't matter how many points you score. All it takes is for someone to go, yeah, but you built that AR so that you could, somehow circumvent the tax. Now, I have something eye-opening to say about that, and I hope you'll understand where I'm coming from. Listen, guys, if they say, all right, we're going to arbitrarily, now, through some standard, but we are going to arbitrarily make 90% of AR and AK and PCC pistols illegal overnight, right? Let's just say they're going to arbitrarily do that. If you make something illegal, but then you say, well, if you pay a $200 tax stamp, it's not illegal. Is it really illegal? Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, guys. If something is your right, all right, I have a right to bear arms. I have a right to own these guns, okay? If it's my right, and they say, hey, man, it's your right to have this, but we don't like this. We want you to register it and pay a $200 tax stamp, and you can own it. So if someone pays it, all right, someone pays the $200 tax stamp. Okay, so this item is so dangerous to them. They hate it so much that they want you to pay a $200 tax stamp and register it. Does that mean that the person that registered that gun can't use it in a crime now? Does that mean that it's completely off limits to being used in crime or being used in the way that they claim that they're being used in, right? So is that $200 tax stamp that you're getting and that registration, those fingerprint cards, and all right, now you know who has it. Is that really going to stop that person from using it in any way they deem necessary, right? So really what it's more about, okay, is society keeps talking about, oh, well, requiring a $10 ID to vote is voter suppression, and it's, it's going against these people and disenfranchised minorities and all of this stuff. Well, wait a minute. You have to have an ID to buy a gun, right? You have to have an ID to do a ton of different things. I'm not going to dive into the weeds on the difficulty of that statement. But those are the same people that are going to say, well, it's immoral to require a minority to have $10 to have to pay $10 to get an ID to vote. You're suppressing their vote by doing that. But, all right, are you suppressing a minority person or any person's ability to exercise their Second Amendment rights by requiring a $200 fee to keep their gun? Otherwise, they're a criminal? Mm-hmm. And then knowing how many millions of these items are out there and how many millions of braces are in circulation, and knowing how many millions of people you're going to potentially turn into felons overnight and disenfranchise, right? It's not going to affect the rich people. The rich people are going to go, whatever, here's your stupid tax money, buzz off, fly. They don't care. But the person that saved up their whole year to buy that awesome Daniel Defense Mark 18 pistol and protect their family and their livelihood with it, that $200 might put them over the edge. That's a lot of money, right? And it's not even about the money. It's the principle of it. But it is and isn't about the money at the same time. What if you have 30 brace pistols in your possession? So what? You're gonna have to squat, $6,400 or whatever it comes out to in tax stamps. Otherwise, you're a felon to keep something that you lawfully own at the time that you owned it. It just doesn't make sense. It's morally inconsistent. Mm-hmm. It's inconsistent with the Constitution. It's inconsistent with natural rights. It's inconsistent with checks and balances in this country and how laws are passed in this country. This is not a consistent thing with our checks and balances and the process of how we determine what is illegal and what isn't. Not only guns, but just regulations, laws, and especially federal law in general, right? An alphabet agency doesn't get to make laws. The president doesn't get to make laws. Congress makes laws. And what you're essentially saying with this point system and with this arbitrary, reclassification is you're changing the law. You can't change the definition of what a firearm is, what a pistol is, what a rifle is. And these manufacturers, in good faith, for all these years, the last over a decade, that people have been building pistols using braces, following the federal guidelines under the Gun Control Act of 68, determining what a firearm is, what a pistol is, what a short-barreled rifle is, barrel lengths, action lengths, overall lengths. All of these things have been carefully adhered to in order to make the guns that you use on a regular basis, right? And then using the DOJ and ATF's guidance on braces, which they allowed back then. The very thing that the ATF said yes to are the very things now they're saying, oh, well, we don't like this. So why was it okay back then and it's not okay now? Mm-hmm. So back then it wasn't an SBR. Back then it didn't matter, but now it does. So after millions of people have them, now you're going to all of a sudden make us think about it because you want the millions of dollars in tax revenue? That's really what this is all about. They're just trying to fleece people for money. They're not even saying it's illegal, turn them in. They're saying you can keep them, you just got to pay money and submit, of course, a very, involved background check and submit all of your, information, which no one wants to do.
Or reconfigure it into something that will get you less than 4 points at the end.
But they can still say it's an SBR.
But wait. All right, so look, I wanted to go over just a couple of minor details here. So when reading through this and reading through the details in the rule itself, like, for example, let's talk about a couple of brace designs and how the ATF is looking at them. All right, let's look at the tail hook, for example. Okay, they're considering the tail hook brace, all right, to be a stock when it is folded, but to be a brace when it is open and you can actually use the counterbalance feature. Okay, so it's a brace in one position. It's not a brace in the other position. It's a stock.
Well, if it's closed, it's not in use anyway. So at the point that the brace was closed, how could it not just be a regular pistol at that point?
Because
so it's just stupid.
The ATF is saying that when it's closed, it's ideal for shouldering. But when it's open, it's the counterbalance design. Now, if it was fixed in that position, then it would be a brace all the time. But since it's folding, it's a brace at one point, and then it's a stock at the other. You can't be both. It's either one or the other. It's either a stock or it's a brace. This comes into the ambiguity and the arbitrary nature of this document, the worksheet and the document itself. All right, fin stabilizing braces like the CAC, okay,
or the blades.
Yeah, the blades.
Like
the shock waves and things. All right, if it does not have a strap on it, then you get points. Okay?
Yeah, because you cannot attach it to your arm.
If the strap is elastic, you get points. If the strap isn't long enough, you get points. If you have like a triangle style brace, like what a lot of the PSAs come with, all right, it's not large enough to encompass most people's arms, you get points. Okay? If it's folded in a certain way or there's material stuffed in the back, you get points. We're getting back into this. The ATF is trying to tell you how you can use your firearm that is legal under the GCA and whether or not the intended use of it is illegal or not. All right, this gets back into what we've talked about in the past.
There's no wrong way to shoot a pistol.
Look, handguns, okay? The GCA describes handguns as firearms that are designed to be fired with one hand. How many people fire a handgun with one hand? I mean, cowboy action shooters. I mean, you don't typically go to the range and fire with one hand unless you're doing like injured shooter drills, that sort of thing. Weak hand, strong side, that sort of thing, whatever. Okay? Most people fire a handgun with two hands.
Including all federal and state law enforcement, right. They train that way.
So, with this, basically, on your large format pistol, they are saying that the presence of peripheral accessories, hand stops, angled foregrips, things like that, which are not vertical grips, which if you put a vertical grip on a pistol, okay, then you have constituted an AOW at that point. All right, if that pistol has a brace on it and you put a vertical foregrip on there, then it becomes an SBR because it has a vertical grip instead of an angled grip. You get points for hand stops. You get 4 points for the presence of a secondary grip indicating two-handed fire. Wait a minute. All right. So you mean to tell me that if I put a grip on there, then that means I'm going to fire that gun with two hands? Well, I'm already going to likely fire it with two hands. A lot of people that shoot AR pistols are going to fire them with two hands, regardless, even if they have a brace on them. We look back,
or even if they just have the tube, you still hold it.
Yeah, we look back at the '90s and such. The early '90s and through the assault weapons ban and things like that. Carbon 15 pistols, like Bushmaster put out tons of these carbon 15 pistols, right, with just a pistol tube on it. The buffer tube is necessary to the function of that platform. All right, and it's just a round tube. We saw the original SB braces; they fit over round pistol tubes. No big deal, but the designs changed, and these designs were improved upon, and they were approved by the ATF. by the FATD, the Firearms and Technology Division.
It's almost like it's almost like they approved them knowing that they were going to go after them later.
But this is just a sample. I mean, like, they go into what we've talked about before, okay, when the first rule came down the pipeline regarding optics. All right, if you've got a red dot on there, and then you have a magnifier, which indicates short eye relief, or the need of your eye to be close, okay, so it need to be shouldered. All right, they're saying, oh, well, that's not a pistol, that's a rifle. You get points. All right, if you've got a variable power optic on there with a short eye relief, you get points. You know,
it's dumb.
It's just arbitrary, and it's the ATF telling you how you can use the products that you lawfully purchased under current
and you
law.
already own.
Yes.
Right? That's what gets me. Like, you already own it. It belongs to you. It's your property. It's something that you went to a gun store in good faith and bought. It's something that you were told, like, hey, here's the letter, here's this, here's that, here's this approval, here's that approval, here's this marketing material from XYZ company that shows people using it, right? So, like, there's all this media out there, there's all this conjecture, there's gun stores that sell them, there's knowledgeable people at gun stores that have said, hey, here it is, check it out. So you, in good faith, went into a gun shop, bought this gun because you wanted it, and you own it. Right, so they're trying to tell you what you can and can't do with your own property. And this is clearly against the Constitution. It's clearly a polling tax. It essentially is, right? So polling taxes were deemed to be illegal a long time ago. It's like back in the 60s, I believe, that particular SCOTUS ruling came down. So I would like to see the NFA challenged as a whole. And that, I mean, people that have had to pay $200 tax stamps for all these arbitrary things are actually being charged for their Second Amendment rights. You can't tax a right, and it is a right. So I think that we are going to see this challenged in time. For now, guys, what I need y'all to do, I know we went into the weeds on a lot of different things. This worksheet is available if you want to check it out. We'll put a link in the description box below. You can go read it.
Yep.
So make sure you check it out.
And look, one sec. This is not everything. We barely scratched the surface. If you have time, read through the rule. It's not that long. I mean, it takes a little while, but read through it and read through the ATF's reasoning behind some of these worksheet items, okay? And it will boggle your mind, and you'll have a little bit more ammunition to go forward and leave a very informed comment, okay?
We said it in a previous gun gripe, but I want to just sort of reiterate it. Make sure that you keep it factual and professional. Go over to the Federal Registry. Make sure you leave your brace comment. There's also a separate comment section for the receiver.
The frame and receiver
rule that they're trying to change. So there's two proposed rules that you got to go and leave comments on. The brace one, it's just important. Make sure you articulate your point really well. Be fair and concise, and explain to them how it will affect you, how it would affect your family, your community, your safety, your finances, right? Your freedom. You know, it's unconstitutional. It infringes on your Second Amendment rights. Like, tell them how it affects you as a person, how it will affect your country, how it will affect your fellow citizens, and articulate those points well. You don't have to go into a whole bunch of crazy detail. It can be a relatively short comment, but be fair and concise, and you have to sign your name in there. You have to submit your information or it won't count. Just do it. Okay, we've got over 50,000 comments on the Federal Registry for this, right? We got it throughout back in December. We can get it thrown out now again, and we'll continue to. But go in there and leave your comments. We've got to get these comments over 100,000.
Look, I want to make one more point too. A lot of people don't understand the economic impact of this, and the ATF actually lays out an estimated economic impact. But you're talking about shutting down manufacturers, closing down facilities that, you know, employ hundreds of people. You know, some places may employ thousands of people. So you're talking about putting those people on the unemployment docket. All right? All because of the way the ATF wants to look at a completely legal and commonly used product that they can't even say, as we mentioned before, how much crime is actually used in, and what is the actual reasoning behind this, other than just, you know, just showing their face and just getting that extra little bit of control against the American people. We can't get, you know, gun owners and the American public at large can't get ahead for the federal government wanting to pull us back again.
Well, if we can assume that there are 2 million, some 2 million some odd braces out there in circulation,
the estimation was like 3 million plus.
If a $200 tax stamp was paid on 2 million braces, that's $400 million, almost $500 million in revenue. So this is clearly a money grab. They want the money, they want the control, they want to peek under the hood, they want to know who you are, what you've got, and they want to infringe on your rights. They want to have a registry of the things that you have. They want to know who's got what. And I have great problem with that. I take great offense to that. I think this is unconstitutional. Taxing a right is unconstitutional. You know, I don't agree with this arbitrary bullcrap. I think at a bare minimum, they should just drop this thing and just understand that they're in such common use. They're out there. There's nothing they can do about it. That train has left the station and it's not coming back, and they need to recognize that, and we just need to move forward.
Yeah. If you guys remember in the previous video we did, we went through and talked about some of the things the ATF wanted to spend this new revenue on. You know, more agents, okay, more field agents to be able to go out and inspect FFLs across the country. I mean, like right now, only about maybe 10% of the FFLs get inspected each year. And that's it, because they don't have enough agents to go around, maybe even less than that. But they talked about all these things they want to spend this money on. It's like, you know, more tax money, more government employees. Why do we need more government employees? Why do we need more government as a whole?
Yeah, why do I have to get fleeced for 10 grand for something I already own?
We don't. We don't need it. The American public, especially gun-owning public, we don't need more government influence in our life, and that's all this would give you.
That's right.
And remember some of those programs that they wanted to put that money towards, like all these research programs about crime in major cities and things like that. Let the cities take care of that themselves. That's their problem, not the federal problem.
You know they're not going to take that money and build ranges or have after-school programs and you know, air rifle programs in the schools and gun safety programs in the schools. You know, they're not going to put that money towards anything positive for the Second Amendment. They're going to try to trample on the Second Amendment. And that, to me, is an issue. When you have a government agency, it would seem that they should at least be able to look at the Second Amendment under the lens of fairness from both sides of the coin, right? You shouldn't have someone like Chipman at the helm that's just going to sit there and literally just, you know, he's a gun control advocate that is sitting at the helm of a group of people that can certainly ruin the lives of many people. And I take offense to that, and I take issue with that. And I think it's a terrible set of circumstances that we shouldn't allow to progress. So leave those comments, guys. It's super important. Let's get those comments up to 100,000. Let's do it. Many more videos on the way, guys. Yes, we do have more meltdowns coming. I've seen the comments. Ammo's expensive right now, guys. Okay, we're doing our best. We are going to have some more meltdown videos. We have a bunch of other videos that we make. It's not just gun gripes. But we feel that it's very important to be involved on the legislative end and involved in what's going on. Because if we sit on the sidelines with this stuff, they're just going to do it. They're going to let it go through, and that's going to be the end of it. So we have to be engaged. Guys, please help us with this, all right? We're just two people here. We're trying to open up our platform in a way that keeps people, informed, okay? That's very important to me. So make sure that you're getting out there and doing that. If you want to support us, there's a lot of ways you can do so. You can go pick up a shirt over at Ballistic Ink. You can pick up a man cam, which is a merch box we put together full of cool stuff, really awesome things. Also, you can become a Patreon supporter if you wish. A big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, okay? So, you know, just like GOA, FPC, you know, you can throw a few bucks towards them. They're great organizations. FPC's doing a lot of great work. So make sure you support them as well as GOA. And if you want to support us, we greatly appreciate that as well. We'll keep this ball rolling and, you know, hope that we can get back some of our long lost rights and, you know, achieve liberty, if you will. So
I hope so.
Guys, have a great day. Many more videos on the way. Yes, tons of other stuff too, not just gripes. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
See you guys.